Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest edition of Global Market Wrap. Now, I'm joined today with some of our best people from across the world, and we're going to talk about Watches and Wonders, which wrapped up this week. So I've got joining me in Hong Kong, Josh. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Mike. Happy to be here. Yep.
Glad to have you. We've got Luca in Dubai.
Morning, Mike. How are you?
We've got the one and only Patrik Hoffmann in Switzerland.
Hi, everyone.
And we've got Glenn from Singapore.
Hi, everyone.
So we wrapped up Watches and Wonders this week. I think it was an amazing show. We got a great response here in the States, great engagement from clients. It was a lot to digest. Obviously, 38 brands doing all these new introductions at one time made it a little difficult to absorb it all, but there was so much great stuff. And I thought it'd be fun to come back from our last conversation where we did a little bit of a prediction show. So we'll see how we did prediction-wise. And then I want everybody to kind of kick in on what your star of the show was, maybe what the biggest surprise of the show was for you, and just how the reaction was in each market. So let's start with Josh from Hong Kong.
Hey, Mike. Good again to be here.
Great to have you.
So for Watches and Wonder was a very good show. I think what I was looking forward to most was finally seeing an updated Explorer 2. I really don't think that came true. To me, it really is not so different than the previous one. But if I've learned anything, it's really not to question the crown. So I'm not going to do that. For me, the biggest star of the show was the Octa Finissimo Perpetual. That platinum blue dial, ultra thin, unique layout. It's just an absolute stunner. I think despite the high price point, I think it's going to be a very strong performer. Another thing that we're seeing in the market as a result of the Watches and Wonders show is the effects on the Daytona market. So we were expecting a new Daytona, whether it's a 41 millimeter or a discontinuation of certain variations. The biggest thing that we're seeing is the yellow gold green dial. This watch was trading at $80,000 plus. Now, after the show, these past few days, we're seeing some volatility in the market. And I really think we need to see where the dust settles over the next few weeks. That and the Pepsi Jubilee, Batman Jubilee, all these pieces are seeing a bit of volatility. So I think everybody's a bit nervous. Dealers don't know what to do with these pieces right now. So this is the biggest question mark that I've seen so far.
I think that's a great point because we do see with new introductions, obviously come discontinuations and changes in the market. And there was so much hype on that Daytona market. I did not expect a new Daytona. It just seemed too soon to me. So it was something I actually got right once in my life. But I think to your point, the new Explorer was such a Rolex change, whereas just incremental, just like the sub, from 6 feet away, it looks exactly the same. It's just a little bit better. And we all got caught up in the hype of, oh, it's going to be just a major overhaul. And that's not who Rolex is, and it's not what they do great. But I think Rolex was one of the strongest introductions. And let's jump over to Luca, because I know that he's in one of the biggest Rolex markets in the world over in Dubai. So give us some reaction, Luca, and what you love of the show.
Thanks, Mike. Well, I was surprised as you for the Rolex Daytona. I wasn't expecting anything like that. But the new dial, the Meteorite dial, is beautiful. It's customer already asking for it, so it's crazy. The other thing I like a lot, there is a lot of green this year, especially going to Patek. And green, as you know, guys, is a Middle East favorite color. So here, green, they love green. So
interesting.
I already have customers asking for the 5711 green dial, and so it could be quite difficult to find it. And so a lot of green, but not only on Patek, also the niche brands are doing green things. So it's very nice. And I'm stealing a sentence from Patrick's yesterday meeting with CQ. I think that green is the new blue, and he's right, totally right. And sorry for that, but Patrick, I like this thing, and you're right. And it will be a big thing for the Middle East, I'm sure.
That's great. I think that's funny is, I'm not giving up any of my blue, but the green was definitely the color. One of the things that always bothers me, and I want to go to Patrik to speak to this, is when a new thing comes out, be it only a color, everybody seems to pile in immediately. And almost everybody had a green this year. It obviously became the color of choice to the point where I was like, oh my God, another green from everyone. So Patrik, talk to us about how do you think those trends come on and what do you saw at the show?
I cannot give you all the insights there because I know, well, Okay, then I'll give you one example. If you are in the middle of the industry and it happens you're going to go for a tour at a dial factory, you can smell it because you see certain dials and certain color codes. Then, of course, there are certain studies which are done by the dial factories and also by particularly the strap factories. They do some color code studies. So this leads and helps and probably pushes certain brands into it. But it's really amazing how it all came together. You know, we didn't really see it coming like this. A general remark about their watches and wonders. I was involved with a small brand here for a couple of days. I can say they really fulfilled. I think it was really a success from many points, not only for the end consumer, but also for the industry. Because the industry was in the past always looking forward to Basel World, to SHH, Watches and Wonders. It's that hype building up throughout the industry in the production process, development of the product, all the sub-suppliers that work towards these events. And I think it was very important to have this event. And I'm glad that 38 brands were participating. I think it was very good for the industry. I'm here in the middle of the industry, so it's important to me. Now, when I look at the novelties which came out, I was observing the independents. And I was sure a few weeks back when we made predictions that I would speak here about an independent small brand. Right. But you know what? To my surprise, the piece which really stuck out to me personally was the new perpetual calendar from Patek Philippe with the inline perpetual. This brought me back 20 years ago. Most of you are probably too young, but might remember exactly 20 years ago, Professor Dr. Ludwig Oechslin, who used to work for Ulysse Nara and who was the curator of the biggest watch museum in La Chaux-de-Fonds, he created a timepiece, an annual calendar with that linear inline system. And when I look at what Patek Philippe did with this one, it brings me back 20 years to that point, and it brings me back another 25 years to 1996 when Ulysse Nara came out with the first perpetual calendar. I think it's an amazing piece, that Patek Philippe, and very easy to read. I just love that piece. That's my personal view there.
That is one of my two top pieces of the show. I think Patek in general, I'm not going to say stole the show, but pretty darn close. I mean, they really raised the bar on what they've done for the last 4 or 5 years. It was something we were all praying for. It was a couple of the predictions that I liked. I think they did an amazing job, and it's great to see Patek, who we all still consider the top pinnacle brand, really come out and, you know, flex a little muscle there, which I thought was awesome.
But they stick to their vision, you know, absolutely. And that's really so important.
So iconic. I mean, that piece, you know, and I know, and probably all you guys know, it's right out of the museum. That pocket watch, linear calendar, amazing piece. And to see that transferred into a new movement with great detail, so impressive.
Absolutely.
All right, Glenn, what do you got for us from Singapore?
So I think to Josh's point, it was quite interesting to have all these brands do it all at once, right? It was a little bit sort of overwhelming. We're all looking for our own favorites, like the Explorer 2, which I agree with Josh, didn't seem to revolutionize too much, but I think that was, it's sort of the DNA of Rolex, right? They do things their own way, and I think it's quite funny now. We're all trying to find the little differences. That'll be interesting when they're actually out in the market. We can see them. So Rolex, yeah, I mean, the Meteorite Daytona was a fantastic piece, and I think that's gonna be an incredible piece in the market quite soon. The one who really impressed me, that just blew me away, was Lange. I just think Lange with the dials. I know you're going to talk in a lot of detail, Mike. So I'll be brief.
No, don't. You can talk about it all day for me.
Lange were really impressive. That the triple split is something else. So, you know, in the high, I think we've seen some great high complications in this fair. We've seen some really, really interesting pieces. And then, you know, brands like my former brand, IWC, I think what they did with the big pilot is really interesting, you know, to make something so iconic, that bit smaller, which is definitely going to be accessible to the Asian market, and to give the variations they gave on straps as well. So I mean, my prediction, if you remember last time, was if Rolex could offer more customization, and obviously they're going to start doing that now with the GMTs, which is it was more wishful thinking, but it came true, which was nice, because I think that's, you know, partly that will be the future. I think for these brands, where there's no way they can keep, the supply will never reach that demand, especially for brands like Rolex. So to really come out and say, look, we can start offering customizations. I really hope that, you know, your regular Rolex customer can walk into a boutique and can choose a new strap. That, I think that's a fantastic service to offer clients. I think you're right. Patek were just incredible. I mean, their Calatrava, the edition with that, especially that slate grey, is just incredible. And Calatrava is great as well because it offers, again, I talked about this last time, you know, sort of younger collectors and people with a, you know, sort of slightly more entry point offering. It's nice that you can pick up something so classic as the Calatrava now. So yeah, I think Mike, I'll let you jump onto your Lange second.
Well, yeah, no, obviously Lange is a soft spot for me. They did an amazing job. I did ask for a new perpetual. I got it in a case that was much better than I thought. I did not expect it in a Lange 1 format. I feel bad for the guys who have the Lange 1 Tourbillon that might look exactly the same now, but they did also that beautiful coloring. The pink dial is amazing. Just a great release from them. I also do love that triple split. Again, colored dials are my favorite in Lange, so I thought they did a great job. But again, I come back to Rolex and Patek, who kind of stole the show. Rolex, again, did what Rolex does. Lots of cool dials, be it the, you know, what they're calling the palm dial, be it the new stone dial that Rolex didn't even mention. And this is such a Rolex thing. They introduced a new stone dial. We all know what the secondary market is on stone dials these days. So Eisenkeisel comes out and they don't even say anything. It took me like 3 trips to the website to even find it, to see it there. And it's such a Rolex thing. It's just a subtle change. It's going to be a big market mover. Obviously, meteorites are huge. And then Patek just lit it up. I asked for a hobnail Calatrava. I got a hobnail Calatrava. It's the perfect size at 39 millimeters. Even your perpetual, Patrik, at over 41. It's just, from somebody like me who likes a bigger watch, I think it's the perfect size. But you flip it over and it screams Patek Philippe on both of them. You know, the perpetual with the micro rotor and platinum, we've never seen that. And the new Calatrava, to me, sends a benchmark. Not only in 65-hour power reserve, which is very high for a Patek, you know, simple movement, and then the fit and finish of that piece, and also the price. Let's be honest, they brought up the benchmark, you know, almost $30,000 for the manual wine Calatrava, which to me makes perfect sense, because if you look at, you know, why should a Patek be less than Laurent Ferrier or some of these other small brands? Patek Philippe is arguably the best watch in the world, and I really think they made that statement in this release, in this badge. I'm still looking for another annual calendar. You know, the one they released in steel is cool, but technically a unisex watch, they're calling it. So I think we will see more perpetuals and annuals down the road, but what a great release. All right, so we know we've talked at length about Patek and Rolex, and that's kind of the focus, but what else in a smaller brand, or maybe got a little unnoticed? Glenn, what did you see that maybe wasn't Patek and Rolex that you loved?
Well, one of my favorite brands for dials, Moser, I thought did an amazing job with those Tiger Eye dials. I mean, you mentioned that, you know, Rolex was famous for these alternative dials, you know, many years ago, and I just think it's fantastic that we see it now in a modern piece, slightly larger piece as well, just for something different to stand out. You know, we talked about all this green, blues dominated for a long time. Go for Tiger Eye. Go for something completely unique and different looking.
Tiger Eye, great call. How about you, Josh? What did you see that was a standout?
I think the Tiger Eye is my favorite, but the one piece that really caught my attention and I was not expecting was a 40 millimeter brass movement Octa Reserve coming back after 20 years. I think it's going to be incredibly hot as expected, but it's just an absolute knockout. And I really, really can't wait to see one in person. Yeah.
I think that's a great call because we did not see you know, that much attention on Journe, as Journe is such part of our lives. I think it was a great piece. You're right. Great call out. Patrik, what did you got that was different?
No, I think there are a few things which stick out of this show. Of course, it's the green, it's the stones, it's glass, and it's sapphire. And with the stones, I fully agree with you that probably Moser stood out, with the tiger eye. And I think that's a bit of a trend we are going to see in the future as well. More stone dials.
Got it. Luca, what did you see that was out of the blue for you?
Well, I really love the Bulgari Octofinissimo perpetual calendar. I really like it because I'm Italian. Bulgari is supposed to be Italian.
You're partial.
It's very, very. I was impressed because the movement is 2.75 millimeter thick. It's incredible for a perpetual calendar. And they also removed the disc for the date, and they have the retrograde date in order to save space, and which is amazing. So the whole watch, the whole case is 5.8 millimeters, but the movement is super, super thin. So it's very nice, and the watch is really readable, not so big, 40 millimeters, and the polishing is amazing. So I really like it. I like it a lot.
No, I love that piece. I think they've done a great job redeveloping and really showing that technical ability that nobody expected from them. So another great introduction. So I guess my last thing I want to wrap up, and I'll get everybody to pop in a little bit, is so we had what we considered a virtual show that was great and, successful with some bumps. Where do we think we go from here? I mean, do we go back to massive shows? Patrik, I'm going to start with you because you certainly have the most expertise in this. Where do we go?
I have a prediction. I think Basel World is not going to come back. That's my feel.
Great.
I think Watches and Wonders will hopefully come back with more brands, maybe between 38 and 50 brands. I could see that certainly coming. What I see as a trend is that now the brands, the big ones and the small ones, they have learned how to do launches, virtual launches, and how to work with Zoom and whatever. And I think they also know now more how to produce content, video content. I think they will go out more direct to the end consumer. And I think it will leave some of the bloggers and some of the journalists empty-handed, I would say. And that's maybe not a bad thing. I think it's not a bad thing. Because what I see now, what's happening with Audemars Piguet, okay, they were not part of Watches and Wonders with the Marvel. I think it's good that the brands will go direct to the end consumer and not necessarily through some of the bloggers.
Yeah, I think that relationship with the consumer is now solidified, and they've realized, which is what we do here. We love the interaction with the customer. That's why this week was so much fun. Josh, I know you do this in Hong Kong all the time because your collectors are all over the world in that part of the world. So that, interacting with them video-wise, I mean, do you see that expanding as well over there?
Yeah, for sure. To be able to talk to the Meilong brothers from Moser or other brands, have this one-on-one experience is so powerful. And from a consumer perspective, being able to have that engagement, that VIP experience, I think would only make people more inclined to buy. It's just so much more exciting. It makes you feel more involved. I think that's a future. Online is here to stay. Maybe Watches and Wonders might have an in-person aspect in the future, but I don't think it will go back, as Patrik said, to what it was before.
I think we might see, and I'm going to jump to Luca on this one because, Dubai Watch Week, to me, when first time I went there, was the perfect type of venue. A much more smaller, much more intimate event where you actually did get to meet the people. So Luca, talk to us about that and your experiences there.
Well, say that we are looking forward to Dubai Watch Week because it will be probably the biggest in-person event in the year for watches. And hopefully coronavirus won't be here anymore, or let's say it will be more manageable somehow.
Right.
And so we are waiting for a lot of customers coming here and to see them in person. But as Patrik was saying before, and I totally agree, we will see more deep stepping into the digital world. So brands, and we know how to create more content, digital content, also localized for the region. So I see the brands now, they are start tapping into this kind of world. And we will have more digital content. So it will be more an omnichannel experience. So we will have something physical, but you have more and more digital contacts and digital interaction between the customers and the brands. And Dubai Watch Week, I think, will go into this direction, at least from our side.
The brands, and Josh mentioned Moser, and I know now about Moser, I know about Chronoswiss, I know about Louis Monet, who I know all personally. They all set up now a digital world within their company. And now they have that setup, they have invested, and they will make use of it now over the next months and weeks.
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, I think we're going to see some of these micro shows because there is a certain amount of touching and feeling that helps. But I think we will see continued digital launches through the year, and it'll continue to drive the market. I love this. I think we've actually evolved into something that's even better. And I'm very excited. I think 2021 is going to be one of the best years for this industry that we've seen. And, you know, Patrik and I have been around for a long time. So
it's going to be a nice bounce back, I think.
It's going to be a fun bounce back. And it's great having all you guys here. I love nothing more than having the offices around the world because the perspective we get and the ability to say, hey, guys, I'm seeing this. Are you seeing this? And we really get a great pulse of the market. So love having you guys here. I think Watches are under huge success. Continue to enjoy it. Let's figure out what the market's going to do now with all this new stuff hitting it. And we'll go from there.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Mike.
Thank you.